Welcome back to another Story Saturday here on the 1111 podcast. Saturdays are becoming one of my favorite days here on the show as I get to riff about stories I love. And the story I've chosen for this week dealing with identity is that of the TV show called Lucifer. It's literally about the devil. And this podcast today is going to be rife with spoilers. The show has been off the air for a couple of years, so I don't feel bad about spoiling it. But if you want to be surprised and go watch it, turn off this podcast now. One of the things that Lucifer's known for is how when he meets someone, if he's trying to get to the truth of whether or not they've done something, especially committed a crime, since it has detectives and murders and all that in the show, he will ask the suspect, "What is it that you truly desire?" Invariably, they'll come up with some cute thing when they're in his trance, in his thrall, that's nothing like, "I want power, I want to be president, I want to be this or that." It'll be something like, "I want my son to be proud of me. I want to master making a souffle. I want to have enough money that I can open a cat shelter." Really sweet things. It's a great lesson that we should pay attention to our true desires, and that we have the ability, usually, to find a way to see them come to reality. Another thing I really love about the show is the way hell is depicted. It's a guilt loop. You keep going through the same experience over and over, and it's an experience of your choosing, the one that makes you feel guiltiest. There are no doors on the cells in hell because what is keeping people there is themselves. They send themselves to hell with incredible guilt over a given situation. And if they had forgiven themselves, they wouldn't have gone to hell. They would have gone to heaven. This just shows that people can have second chances, and we can overcome guilt, and we don't need to beat ourselves up for things in our past. We can always learn from them and do better. Lucifer continually tells people he's the devil, he's the son of God, he's a fallen angel. Nobody ever believes him. It gets across the point that telling people the truth doesn't necessarily mean they'll believe you. They'll believe what they want to believe, based on their perceptions, their belief system, their values. There's a curious situation in the show that Lucifer is usually invincible, invulnerable, except when he's around his love interest. That's the only time he's physically vulnerable. What we learn throughout the story is vulnerability is not weakness. It takes courage and strength to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Also, what he goes through shows an incredible willingness to grow. All of us can change if we feel we need to. Certainly, you don't need to be something you're not to make someone else happy. But you can be the person you've always wanted to be. And you can help others do the same. That's what happened in the show of Lucifer. He started out as this fallen angel who was a partier, and he owned a club, and he drove a fast car, and he was with women, men, you name it, quite the hedonistic lifestyle. By the end of it, he had the opportunity to be God when God retired, and he also decided he found his calling, which was to help those in hell forgive themselves so much that they could get out of their hell loop of regret and guilt and shame, and then go to heaven. If that isn't the biggest redemption story of all time, and for me, a great example of identity and getting to know ourselves and becoming the best version of ourselves and not giving up. He thought he was a monster at the beginning, and then he found his calling and was a healer of souls. That is today's Story Saturday to wrap up our week about identity. Tomorrow, we have a wonderful surprise guest to interview. It's so hard to not leak who they are and what they do, but I'm going to try to be good and never let on until it happens. So we look forward to being with you tomorrow. And as always, friends, cheriste som tuta.